Hi, I'm Sam here at Rick Jones Pianos with a Kawai upright that was built in Hamamatsu, Japan in 1989. It's about 49-ish inches, and the model number is it's DS-60, not exactly a well-known model. As I recall, it is the curved leg furniture style version of the model. I think it's a BS-20 or BS-2. Kawai's upright piano model numbers have changed a lot over the years. You might consider this the distant predecessor of what I guess the K500, about K500 I think is what it is now, 49-50-inch upright. And I think highly, I mean, despite the variety of model numbers, in my opinion, they consistently have a warm, rounded tone and a surprisingly deep bass for the size that they are. Like this piano, I didn't play so much of the bass, but we can listen right now. I listened to it before the video. It sounds like a full-size upright to me. It's really deep sound, very dark and mellow, in line with the mellow sounds that Kawai is known for, but not without power. It can really deepen the sound of whatever music you play whenever you need it to sound big. And as I said, that, in my opinion, is consistent in Kawai uprights. Even going to the smaller models like the Studios and the Consoles, they sound bigger than they look. And, well, this one's even better at 49 inches tall. So, very satisfying to play this piano. So the model numbers change depending on the cabinetry style. This is, in most respects, very similar to any other Kawai model that you would normally find of this size. It has a traditional cabinet, high gloss ebony, as many of them are, in really good condition. My colleagues have done a beautiful job cleaning it up. The only difference is curved legs in the front here to add a bit of more style to the piano instead of just a straight leg going down to the toe block. Musically, as I mentioned, it has a warm, rounded sound. Really no hint of harshness whatsoever in the sound. It will, if you have a relatively small living space, such as you would be putting an upright piano in, this won't overwhelm it. It's sort of introverted, understated, but still very deep sound that will fill the room, a small room, with just the right amount of sound, I think. And I know there are many people, shoppers, who come in specifically looking for Kawai because of that warmer sound. Many people will object to the brighter sound that Yamaha is known for, and it's not always the case. We get mellow Yamahas in too. But a lot of it is also just the way the strings are designed in the piano, the arrangement. That's called the scale design. And what Kawai achieves, in my opinion, consistently with their designs, is just a warmer, rounded sound compared to their competitor, Yamaha. And it's especially appealing to those who play classical music. Many teachers of classical piano repertoire specifically recommend their students to look for Kawai pianos at our store. And incidentally, Kawai also has a joint venture with Steinway to manufacture the Boston piano in Japan. Boston pianos likewise have that, in my opinion, darker sound, mellower sound, not unlike Steinway. And so that trio of brand names tends to be recommended in tandem with each other by classical piano teachers because it really flatters the sound of classical music, especially Beethoven onward. The last piece I played was by Schubert, so a very gentle piece that sounds perfect on a more gentle sounding piano. His Hungarian Melody, if you want to look that up. Accordingly, I'll call it a 4 on a scale from 1 to 10, from mellow to bright. Definitely on the mellow side, but not at all lacking in clarity. One of my favorite things about Japanese pianos is how they manage to be, in my opinion, still very clear sounding, so all the notes are very easily distinguishable. So you practicing at home can hear all the notes. I think teachers like that for their students practicing at home, especially if they're doing technical exercises. The notes aren't blurry at all, they're all very clear, so it kind of makes mistakes a bit more obvious to hear, and it compels them to improve, which is what teachers want their students to do. That must be, in my opinion, one of the main reasons why Yamaha and Kawai, including mellower Kawais like this, get recommended so much by teachers. So mellow is the tone for still with tons of clarity if you need to bring it out. And the touch I thought was a smidgen on the light side. Not normal for Kawais, but every piano turns out differently. I'll call it a 4 on a scale from 1 to 10 for the touch, from light to firm. Certainly lighter than the average Kawai, so that's the amount of resistance in the keys. It won't overwhelm your hands, especially if you're a really young student, if you're a little kid just getting into the piano, maybe you're graduating from a digital piano, you don't want something that's too overwhelming. It's what I would recommend for someone who is that young and has small hands, still growing, still developing strength in their fingers. It's still very controllable and subtle, but it won't overwhelm your fingers. And I would recommend it also for more older adults returning to the piano after many years' absence. If you're in that situation, you're likely not required by your piano teacher to get a piano with a firm touch. And I will say, if you are parents of a child where the teacher says you have to have a firm touch, I would probably not recommend this piano. It simply doesn't have a firm touch. It's a little bit on the lighter side. And that is a piano we would rate as a 6 on our scale from 1 to 10 on other pianos in the inventory, of which we have many. But if you're an adult returning to the piano after many years' absence and you don't want to overwork your hands, you just want to enjoy whatever music you play, I think this is an excellent choice. It's certainly the type of piano I wouldn't mind having at home to practice on, especially as I get older. I don't want to overtax my fingers. This combination of mellow and light touch, I've noticed, is not quite so common in the pianos we get in our inventory. I know there are many shoppers around who are specifically looking for that combination, especially, as I mentioned, adults returning to the piano after many years' absence. So if you're on the lookout for that type of pianos with those musical characteristics, I would strongly encourage you to come out and play this for yourself. We just don't get them quite as often, but they are quite desirable for those who want to enjoy music at home and have a enjoyable but also not so hard feel to make their musical experience at home a bit smoother. So 4 and 4 for the tone and touch. The piano does also have a middle pedal practice mute, as these uprights usually do. You press it down, move it to the left, it holds itself in place for you, and then we'll put a strip of felt in between the hammers and the strings so that if you really need to quiet the piano down, say you're in an apartment or row house, don't want to disturb your neighbors, you can do so and play really quietly. As I said, most of these Kawai and Yamaha uprights above a certain size have that mute feature. Not necessarily all of them, so if that's something you need for your piano in your home, rest assured this piano has it and it works on all notes. So please stop by and try it out for yourself. You can play it along with anything else in our inventory. But if you can't make it, you can always give us a phone call or send us an email if you have any questions. Thanks.